Hello again, welcome back to part 2. I'm just going to turn the roughness back to the brick face and remove the black because I don't want reflective bricks. And I'm going to turn the dirt streaks off. Don't want anything to get in the way of the displacement and the bumpy dump. Alright, I'll explain these little green things at the end. So, displacement effects. Again, this requires subdivisions either on the plane itself or with a subdivision surface. This one is currently set to 4 in the viewport, which seems to be working okay. So let me first hide the cracks, because they're always active, the cracks. I'll show you, I'll talk about that when we get there. Okay, so, and I'm also going to turn off the dodgy bricks because I just want a nice clean wall so that we see pure displacement. Pure displacement. Alright, we're ready. Okay, random indents. All of these, just mix them in. Like this. And you get these chunky things. Just taking chunks out of the wall, innit? Or indenting the wall, as I've called it. And its filter is here. That looks like a Musgrave, so you can change the scale, how big those things are. You don't need me to go through those again. Random holes. There is also a bump, but if you want the displaced random holes, mix that in. There they are. Alright, fellas. Yeah. Random hole shape. It's backwards. I don't know why. Let's find out. What happens when I do that? They get smaller and less. If I do that, they're more visible. So if we drag this, they'll be bigger. Yes. So there you go. You can have more messy bump than random holes if you want. But that's cool. Okay, random holes, done. Moving on. Right. This is where we're at, the cracks. So there are two, crack 0, crack 1. And this is where you mix between them. So at the moment, because we're mixed over here, we're using crack 0. The reason we can't see it is because we've hidden it with the crack mask. And as it says here, drag white slider right to reveal the crack. So we're allowing more of the black in, I suppose, which is what we need to see the cracks. So because they're very far apart, it's a very smooth transition between healthy brick and not so healthy brick, unless we drag the black over, and then we're really pushing up that displacement. So this is crack 0, which has a filter and a shape here. If I drag this way, it's going to spread that crack further across the wall. Spread the crack, like, let's spread the crack about the wall. No, that's almost non-existent because the whole wall has been affected. So yeah, you can, I'm smoothing the edges of that crack. If I brought this closer, you see, now we've got a very definite edge to, wrong one, to the, damn it, get back there. Don't mess me around. I don't want to be messed around. Alright, bring that back. There we go. So, and the crack mask, again, this is you can change this so we can hide small chunks of the crack. Sorry, that's wrong one. That's the crack. That's the crack filter. Control of this thing, so you can mess it up, make it more do what you gotta do. That's using a noise filter, maybe. The actual mask filter is here. So at the moment the mask scale is 0.94, so it's allowing a fair bit to show through. If we put that up to 3, or even more than that, 10. You see, it's starting to become a bit. Let's mess with this as well. Let's see if we can make that more clear. So there are other cracks that the mask is now allowing. It's not hiding them so much. So I guess it's a tough one to explain quite as well. I don't know if I'm explaining it quite as well as I should do. So maybe I should quickly think. no, let's put that back to 2. And then crack mask detail, let's put that up to 10. And now we want to hide them, so we want to go black left and then white left. There we go. So you see this shape has now been chopped up, and it's allowing other areas. So these cracks, it's not now one long continuous crack, it's been split up more because we've made the scale of the noise filter that is the black and white mask, we've made that bigger. So if we made that smaller, we start to see more of the crack. So again, this one's about just, you know, experiment with how you want it to look. This crack never changes, but how it's represented on the wall is because of how we're messing with the mask. So that one's a bit of experimentation, but that's the general premise. Bump. Let's turn all of the displacement off. So I need to hide. Yeah, when you're done with the cracks, you don't want to use them, just hide them. Hide them like this. And I think in the last one I turned the bump off. We're going to need to see it. So 1, 1 will do. Okay. So let's start random holes bump. There it is. What it does, when you mix one in all the way, it overrides everything else. So if you want random holes but other bumps, you'd need to mix that in below full. And now we get both, whatever bump this is and this bump. So that's the random holes. Scale there, the filters there, just like with the displacement, same as the shape. The broken brick bump. Now this one, okay. So if we add a bit more variation in the wall with the random extrusion control, so I'm going to put this to here. So you can see this bump is only appearing on the bricks closest to the wall, as though those bricks have broken off. And it's not affecting the bricks that are sticking out of the wall. And as it says here, drag white slider left to start incorporating bumpy bricks. So the more left the white goes, the more black I'm allowing in, the further out of the wall this bump will creep. So if we put this all the way here, every bump is being affected. But if I do it bit by bit, so we go back to here, you'll see now this one hasn't got it because it's obviously the furthest extrusion from the wall, neither is this one. And then if I bring it even closer, now this one's not been affected. So you can see that you can just keep that bump specifically to the ones closest to the wall, as though, as I say, they've broken off. That's the kind of intention of that one. So that's the broken brick bump. And again, because I've mixed it into one, it's the only bump visible. If I wanted the random holes as well, I'd put that up to 0.9, which shouldn't make much of a difference there. But then if I lower this to 0.9, we'll get both. Okay, so there is another bump going on here somewhere. I think it's it's just a bog standard bump. So let's take that down. Let's take that down. And here we go. So cracks bump. We've also got bumps for the cracks, and they're exactly the same shape. All of the filters are for the displacement, so they both, these cracks, the bump cracks, use the same filters as the displaced cracks. And at the moment we've selected crack 1 because we're over to 1. So if we put that in, sometimes it's not so easy to see because it's bump. Let's just put it up to a ridiculous number, see if that makes any. I mean, by doing that, this is that crack. It's doing this. The rest of it is being really pushed out. But this is what that crack is doing. It's a temperamental thing for some reason. Crack 1. But if we slide this to the left, now we will get crack 0, which is equally as hard to see. Let me put that bump back to 1. If I remember, we have to, yes, for increased crack visibility, also mix in some random holes. I spent some time trying to fathom why I need some random holes to get the cracks to look better. I'm at a loss why this is, but just you got to do it. If we put 0.1, maybe even more, 0.5. Look how much of a difference that makes. And that's bump. It's not displaced. But I don't know. It's what you got to do if you want to use the bump cracks. You got to mix in some random holes. So now if we double check with old crack 1, we can see it even more as well. And again, both of these, let's go back to crack 0 because that was very visible. This also has a mask, so here we go, drag white slider right to reveal cracks. So if we start to drag them this way, they will start to disappear, as you can see. And again, the way they disappear is dependent on the filter, which again looks like a noise filter. So the same old jobby. So if you don't want to displace it, you can just use a bit of bump instead. Like this. Okay. Sporadic lumpy bump. It's really fun to say. Sporadic lumpy bump. I'm an adult. So this one, mix it in, you get this. It's the only name I could think for this sporadic lumpy bump. There you go. Okay. And finally, IWB custom texture control. If you wanted some of your, say you want the image texture, this, as it's all labeled, diffuse, roughness, bump and normal, put your own things in there, and then once you've got your images, this is where you've mixed them. So if you wanted a custom texture, you've plugged something into the diffuse, mix it in with this, it'll just go pink right now because there's nothing there. And this one selects what the diffuse texture is being placed over at the moment. The custom is going all over the bricks because we're on the brick control. So if we just deal with this pink now, if we slide this over, it's now only on the mortar. So you can put either image texture over the bricks or an image texture over the mortar, and then you've got all your bumps and your usual, your normal maps. So that's that. Okay, lovely. Now these green things that say reconnect here, reconnect here, reconnect here. If you've got Node Wrangler and for some reason you want to check, like maybe you're having a bit of trouble with the mask, if you Control-Shift-Click the mask, you'll see exactly how it's appearing. And that might be really useful if you think, I don't get what the mask's doing. I don't know where the areas are where the mask is being hidden and where the areas are when the mask is allowing the crack. Or the brick edges, whatever. So if you Control-Shift-Click anything, any node with Node Wrangler, Control-Shift-Click one of these, reconnect here. The best thing to do is to just reconnect at the final one, as it says reconnect here when you're done, just to keep it nice and clean. Okay, that was 13 minutes. I knew it wouldn't take quite as long. I think I've covered everything. Yeah. All right, wicked. Okay. Sorry it's taken a while for me to do this, but I'm all done now, so hopefully that clears everything up for you. Any questions, just leave comments, whatever, or you know, if you've got the Blender Market contact, jubbly. Okay, I hope you have fun with it. There's a lot of fun you can have. I'll see you next time. Bye.